Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome back to Beyond Your Radio, Unknown Sundays. That's right, it's time to talk about another band, an artist, a revelation in the music multiverse that may relatively be unknown, missed by our watchers, collectors, listeners, and something that might be interested in, a rabbit hole to go down, past or present. And today's rabbit hole is ginormous. It's catacombs. So take your time here. If this is your first time here, this is an extension of the article section on beyondyourradio.com. The article is written there by me about this particular artist trio and all kinds of links related to today's wild threesome in jazz. So it's there for you. Just like the subscribe button. That's right. If you haven't clicked it already, please do so. That way you don't miss a thing. Feel free to leave a comment or two as always. We love the feedback. We love the banter. We love to hear what you think, what you're listening to, where this led you. And of course, if you like the video, then by God, have it a little thumbs up. I knew exactly where this one starts, the dive into avant jazz. It was a hard dive for me. It's a hard dive for a lot of people. Once you get that bug, it's impossible to get it out of your system. In this case, I'm going to say with complete confidence that jazz is the one genre where we do not do a lot of they sound like this, they sound like this. The player might have tendencies to an individual, but the bands, they never kind of go, oh, it sounds like this, or it sounds like this band. It's kind of weird that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but you can let me know in the comments. The early 1990s artists in the jazz world were branching out past the concepts laid out by Miles and Herbie Hancock, okay? Starting to grab hold of groove from other genres that were emerging, like the world of hip-hop, which was still tied to a kind of funk, but one in revelation. But I didn't know them in those early formative years, this particular jazz trio. I would have to go back, and in all honesty, I didn't know the first couple of records until deciding to get into these three on Unknown Sundays for 2025. I discovered them from John Schofield, and you're going to have a lot of name drops in this and rabbit holes of a wide variety to go down on this particular episode, as you should expect from a jazz avant-garde trio of this magnitude, reach, and scope. They are a trio that started in line underground with the biggie Blue Note Records. That's right. But they were heading to somewhere that Blue Note was not, and that didn't last as long as it probably should have. When the future avant jazz and free jazz is in you and the explorative realms are infinitesimal, some people are just not willing to follow you there. I'm willing to follow you anywhere. I hope you're willing to do so too, as this is a jazz trio of mind-bending, blowing, and beautifully wild and technical proportions. This is Medeski, Martin, and Wood on Unknown Sundays 2025. So why is Medeski the first name in the trio of a bassist and drummer? Well, if you don't know already, and you probably may not, John Medeski is the avant-frontist at the keys. And when I say keys, it's anything that has keys, like a piano or keyboard on it. Yes, in that first album, Notes from the Underground, he is slamming free jazz piano like he's Art Tatum, Oscar Peterson. However, Medeski would venture all over the place, as if he was some Star Trekian keyboard Galaxian going from the Mellotron to the Hammond B organ to the clavinet and every imaginable electronic, computerized, and tampered with sophisticated keyboard that could be utilized in the jazz environment. Not to mention those he's worked with that are not anywhere close to the environment of jazz. So which are those? Well, how about Cibomato, for example, an alternative art rock band that had Sean Lennon in it? You had, I'm going to say this wrong, probably, Utkidyan, which is an alternative rock band from Russia. Yeah, he's been in that. as well as projects that defy genre compositions with the legendary John Zorn, saxophonist composer, which could only be classified as progressive rock fusion. And I'll give you a little taste of that with the album Simulacrum. So there's the guy who is the reason for the usual not need for a guitarist, except when John Scofield joins the band, which he did on A Go-Go and Out Louder, as well as I think a live performance later, like a live recording that was composed as an album. Or the great Niles Klein from Wilco. He was on the Woodstock Sessions Volume 2, another live recording with a creative experimentalist that he is. So then there's the bass threat, one of those that kind of may be a little underrated in the bassist of jazz. Chris Wood, who studied under Jerry Allen and Dave Holland and loves to go from bass guitar to upright stand-up bass. Hey, all right now, right? His fingers and feel don't miss a single pulse, rhythm, beat, or storyline. They don't. He can do it anyway. The improvisational skills are ridiculous, considering the Medeski manifestos, as well as the company he has kept throughout, with one of them being Elliott Sharp, who has used binary and algorithms to conceptually design and compose. And he was back from the 70s. Then there's the departure from all that with the Wood brothers. Yes, his brother Oliver Wood. This is nowhere near jazz. Well, it has tendencies. This is a rockabilly rock with touches of Southern blues rock. Great stuff. And they continue to do this today.
My wisdom came from all the toughest days. I never learned a thing being happy.
And finally, we get to, well, the drummer. Even though he's the middle of the naming, Billy Martin or Illy B. If you want to go from off of that to get into the DJ rails of drumming and breakbeat, there's a lot there. But the man's drumming skills far surpass that, having worked with the likes of Iggy Pop, a drumming duet with the great Calvin Weston, not to mention the electronically potent genius of Ikus Mori, as well as John Laurie and the Lounge Lizards, which were featured on, if you don't remember them, they were featured as Get Shorty soundtrack. So you get a little idea there. He's also a visual artist of the trio, so his artwork is included in some of the packaging. And if we ever get this Beyond Your Radio studio to go beyond this wall, I would love to have a piece of his artwork, because I know he's been in galleries before, although that would probably mean foregoing some cash. So it would be great. Anyway, three jazz gentlemen that are truly a combustication, as their 1998 album suggests. What it must be like to have hear the goings on in those recording sessions, right? I mean, crying out loud. I can't even imagine where they start. Hey, I've been working on this thing. Of those multiple albums that they've done, I can't even imagine what they bring to the table. Hey, I've been working on this. What do you think? Well, I think it sounds like a turtle being tossed off a balcony into a raging volcano. The immensity of their sound and scope and what must happen in there. I obviously, in another, It's a Jungle in Here might be the best titled record to hint at the jungle of music, the inspirations, the avant-groove, and the tactics they utilize. From all over the improv talents, and this is just three fantastic musicians doing this. kind of gives you that Rush feel. Like, how can they pull that off? I have not seen them live, and I certainly would like to do so. However, I don't know whether they're playing live around here and stuff. I know in 2020 during the pandemic they did do a live on air kind of thing. That would have been cool to see. I don't know if it's still out there. I'm going to look for the links and see if I can put it out there. They don't do small albums in length. They anytime you do these, they are an hour almost or an hour plus. Although there was the one album, Let's Go Everywhere, which is 39 minutes, which is really bizarre. Because you would have thought by the title it would have been greater than 39 minutes. The last I knew, Medeski's Mad Skillet was the last album I purchased of his, but he had done the soundtrack to The Curse, the Showtime original. And, of course, the Wood Brothers, Heart is the Hero from 2023 was a couple years back. And like I said, there is a ton of material to go through with these bands that they've been associated with, people that they played with. And it doesn't end at the article section here that I've done or what I'm speaking about as well. There's other artists that you can go into. This could be a rabbit hole that you spend your entire year going through. Billy Martin or Illy B, well, he recently did a soundtrack. I believe it was for the a foreign movie, La Grande Seduction. I'll give you a little taste of that. This is called German Picks Up Checks. So here's this jazz trio with the music that they make. How is it that they're kind of like an unknown? They're known to these great people like John Zorn and Iggy Pop and who knows who else is on this list as you go down. They make fantastic music together. Their production in each of the records is astoundingly well done, no matter where and how they do it. Their live takes, Woodstock Volume 2 with Nels Klein, just their manifestos of grand proportions. These are artists that do not get major media attention in the grand soundscape of things. A lot of this that I heard and got into as I was going through, there's a station in Canada that did jazz, and they would do these pieces in the evening, maybe, where I'd hear this. Otherwise, they were going back to the standards and classics and stuff. And I don't know if in the avant-garde section you'll ever get these in that classification. That's a very difficult thing when you're going where this goes. The free jazz, the acid jazz, the jazz fusion of it all. I mean, Medeski's worked with not only that Russian rock band, but he's also worked with Russian composers in those kind of areas too, which are astoundingly good, but very deep and almost classical in nature versus jazz. Medeski Martin Wood is a rabbit hole to go down if you haven't been there. If you have just some, there's more out there that you weren't aware of, including the Radiolarians box set, which is another trip down weird lane. Some of the things you may not get into, but don't shove it away because you didn't like that particular rabbit hole that they went down, the explorative nature. Try something else within their catalog because they do hold to certain jazz standards in other albums. Medeski Martin Wood albums, I'll let you know those that are in my collection. Obviously, it started in 1992 with Notes from the Underground. I don't have that record, and I'm thinking I'm going to grab that because I did get to listen to it a couple of times this week. It's a Jungle in Here, which is 1993. Friday Afternoon in the Universe, 1995. That's the first record that I have in my collection, but it wasn't the first record I got. That was Shackman from 1996. Then I went to Farmer's Reserve, 1997. I don't have that record, but I've listened to it many times. A Go-Go, which John Schofield is part of in 1998. Combustication in 1998 as well. That is an album I do have. I also have The Dropper from 2000 and Uninvisible from 2002. Then there's End of the World Party, Just in Case, in 2004. Medeski, Schofield, Martin, and Wood again on Out Louder in 2006. Let's Go Everywhere in 2008. Then there's a project with Zorn. I think it's called Zabros, Book of the Angels, Volume 1. Or is it Volume 11? It's Volume 11. August 2008. I don't have that. The Radiolarians, 1, 2, and 3, they came in 2008 and 2009, and then in 2009 they did the box set, which included the third set. Now, this is avant-garde, and some of it, the Radiolarians, well, number one, I was like, wow, it's just kind of not, I didn't feel it, but now that I've gone back, this box set, it makes its point. It certainly does. Then you got live sessions-ish kind of thing with them with Nels Cline, which was the Woodstock Sessions Volume 2 in 2014. That is one I think is just exceptional. Then Medeski, Schofield, Martin, and Wood do their thing again in an album called Juice in 2014. And then we're back to a live thing, which is the last I knew about in 2018, Omnisphere. This one, they're joined by a collective called Alarm Will Sound. There are some very unique patterns here that fall into a little classical, but there are far-reaching jazz manifestos on this and collectives that are incredibly unique. In the jazz environment, as well as even in the classical environment. Did you know, Medeski, Martin, Wood, are you going to go down these rabbit holes? What do you think about avant jazz? It can be tough. It can be tough. It can be explorative. It can be invigorating. And I think that's where I find this. I find it, even with my explorations into places like Buckethead and the things that attach to his projects, which leads to Bill Laswell and other places. It's incredible what can be done with jazz, and no one says, "Oh, that sounds like this." Usually, I'll see you next week for Tumbleweed Incorporated. I do not know them at all. I'm going down this explorative rabbit hole with you. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. We've got articles, videos, that podcast I'm working on. Album, bands, artists, anything we can get our hands on, as you already are very aware of. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thanks for watching. Happy listening.